The United States has benefited tremendously from globalization. So why is it pursuing deglobalization? The answer is simple: if China abandons industrial upgrading, gives up independent R&D of chips, halts the iteration of new energy vehicles, stops building aircraft carriers and warships, and abandons the updating development of space technology, the U.S. public opinion machine will immediately reverse course, once again advocating that globalization is humanity's greatest invention and the noblest sentiment of mankind. This is the rhetoric the U.S. uses to brainwash people around the world. If China gives up these pursuits, the U.S. and China will still be one family, and the so-minus called Sino-minus-U.S. couple theory will resurface. The reason the U.S. has backtracked on globalization is not that it changed its mind halfway, but that it set a prototype model for globalization from the very beginning. In the U.S. design blueprint for globalization, China's role is clearly defined. First, cultivate a group of top tycoons who make huge profits from the Chinese market and then transfer their wealth to the U.S., where the U.S. provides them with safety and protection. Hong Kong's tycoons really fit these criteria perfectly, but they have long been within Britain's sphere of influence, leaving the U.S. with no room to meddle. What the U.S. really wants is to foster a cohort of top Chinese tycoons closely linked to the U.S. on one hand. These individuals serve as a steady stream of cash cows on the other hand. They act as pioneers of ideological infiltration into China. The U.S. may even directly integrate these tycoons into its ruling class, allowing them to share in the profits of U.S. overseas interests. While their status cannot compare to that of global elites like the Jewish and Anglo-Saxon elites who dominate worldwide, within China's sphere of interests, they're entitled to a slice of the pie. In the original U.S. plan, these individuals were not only important overseas buyers of American manufacturing, but also steadfast supporters of the U.S. plan for peaceful evolution in China, and even the main force in maintaining the so-minus called Sino-minus-U.S. friendly relations. Concepts such as separation of powers, inviolability of private property, and human rights above sovereignty were mainly used to deceive this group. It is not that these people are naive, but that they would suffer the greatest losses in actual interests if conflicts broke out between China and the U.S. Therefore, they will inevitably try every means to find various theories to speak in favor of the original Sino-minus-U.S. friendship, and liberal democracy is the theoretical weapon the U.S. has given them. In the end, around 1.4 billion ordinary Chinese people would only be able to maintain a basic standard of living, just like the people of India, with their thinking guided by the wealthy class. Then, some left-leaning American youth, adopting a savior mentality, would travel to China's rural mountainous areas, poor regions, and backward areas to distribute food, medicine, instant noodles, and new water. Seeing such backward and destitute people, these American left-leaning youth would shed tears, film their experiences into videos, and post them online. With the help of U.S. media hegemony, these videos would be widely publicized, gaining gratitude from the Chinese people, demonstrating the simplicity and fraternity of Americans, and earning these left-leaning youth a glamorous resume. It's a triple win. To put it bluntly, the U.S. arrangement for China is basically the same as what India is like today. If China had followed India's path, the U.S. would have been full of idle curiosity to pursue deglobalization. However, the U.S. wishful thinking has encountered two loopholes it never anticipated. First, the Chinese people are extremely ambitious and hardworking. They believe they can work hard all their lives, but their children must be better than them. Being the world's number one is only natural, and being number two is simply unacceptable. Whether you call these beliefs involution or ambition. When over 1 billion people engage in intense competition, countless brilliant ideas naturally emerge in such an environment. Who can stand in the way of this overwhelming momentum? Second, the Communist Party of China is simply too strong. More than 70 years of practice have proven that the CPC is at the world's top level, even the highest level in social revolution, military struggles, ideological work, economic development, and political strategy. In just a few short years, the CPC has rebuilt China entirely from the ground up, banning drugs, prioritizing education, valuing science, and respecting opponents. And let's not forget this rise has happened under the rules established by the United States and its allies. The difficulties involved are unimaginable, first being barred from the space station project, then facing restrictions on chips and lithography machines, and now dealing with tariffs and diplomatic pressures. China has defeated you using your own rules in such an environment, which is why the United States now appears so embarrassed. Today, there are even many adherents of Chinese ideology emerging in the Western world. While the world's resources are sufficient to support the superpowers, before China's rise, the United States controlled all those resources. So do you think the United States will be willing to give up half of its resources? Do you believe there is still room to reconcile the China minus US contradictions?